If a woman simply provides a run-of-the-mill sexual opportunity, that's very easy to replace. And the fact of the matter is that sex in today's marketplace is extremely cheap. It's cheap because sex must now precede commitment. There's a whole other spiel I can give you about why that's the case, but let's table that for now because I still want to answer your question.
That's changed since our parents' generation, perhaps.
It's changed in the last 60 years, and the main instigator of the change was birth control. 2-minute sidebar. The reason why commitment had to precede sex for so long is because the threat of pregnancy always loomed large. And in that day, it was extremely difficult, if not impossible, for a woman to earn her own money and to survive in society without the protection or provision of a man or a governmental program that served as its surrogate. And all of those things have changed. The reason why commitment was required before sex was because the stakes of a woman becoming pregnant outside of marriage were extremely high. And it was upheld socially because if that man couldn't be persuaded or coerced to commit, then that single unwed mother and her children would have become society's problem. So all of these things have changed. Women can and do earn their own money. There are all kinds of governmental programs to subsidize single mothers. Men, whether they commit to this arrangement or not, are legally required to give women child support for the children that they sire, in some cases even for the children that they don't. So the circumstances for requiring commitment prior to sex have shifted. And once a few women started to be okay with a sexual relationship prior to an exclusive commitment or marriage, once a critical mass was reached, then functionally all other women had to do the same in order to remain competitive within the sexual marketplace. Because in today's day and age, if you were to go out on the first date with a woman and she were to insist, well, I'm not going to have sex until I get married, especially if she's not a virgin, she's going to price herself out of the sexual marketplace. That's going to be too expensive for any given man when there's a woman 2 swipes away who's going to be willing to go home with him for a drink or two. So
it's very true. As society, we've changed over the last, 100 or so more years when it comes to the need for women to have to be married, like if they got pregnant, because there is no way that they were able to provide for themselves and their children. So marriage was that way of making sure that they were provided for. And now women want to be men. Women want to do any and everything that they want. They don't need men. And so society has changed. And here we are. Now we have where sex rules in a lot of cases and women lead with sex.
That's the situation that we live in, for better or for worse. So sex is kind of the standard. We used to say, why buy the cow if you can get the milk for free, right? Well, that presumes that milk wasn't being freely distributed in the pasture. But now that milk is freely being distributed in the pasture, you have to give milk, not because milk will motivate anyone to make the sale, but because not providing milk is going to be in a strange absence. It's going to be more expensive for the buyer in a way that none of the competitors are requiring. Okay? So this is the world that we live in, for better or for worse. So when women provide a sexual opportunity, it's a good idea to not just be a run-of-the-mill sexual opportunity. Because let me tell you, I've worked with thousands of men in my private practice and in my consultations. And men fall in love with strippers, men fall in love with prostitutes, men fall in love with women with personality disorders every single day. Why is that? Is it because these women love them so much? Is it because they're kind? Is it because they're supportive or virtuous? No, it's because they fuck these men to the point where their brains start to melt. Okay? And when a man has brain melting, face skewing,
God.
life altering sex, it's like a drug. And it's like all that guy can think about. And that guy isn't going to just hit and quit a woman who does the freaky nasty shit for him because he knows he can't get that on any street corner.
That's the second time I've laughed.
Wow. That's an interesting way to describe it. But you know what? He may have a point here, because if he's getting it and it's that good, then he's always gonna want to continue to receive it from this particular individual, despite of any other issues that she may have. So very interesting perspective.
In 8,000 interviews. The first time was last week.
So, I mean, does this make sense to you?
It makes perfect sense.
Okay, so they used to say that the way to a man's heart is through his stomach. It's actually just a few inches lower. And there's no reason why, I mean, all these are like behaviors. There's no reason why a non-stripper / prostitute / borderline couldn't learn to do some of the things in the bedroom that these women tend to do and to get men obsessed with them. Okay? So
in other words, ladies, psychologist Orion is saying that you need to get your game up in the bedroom to be able to maintain that level of attraction and commitment from your sexual partner, because it's important. It's just as important, I guess, as other attributes, other factors that comes within a relationship. This is all based on what he's saying. And maybe he does have a point. I would love to hear your opinion about this, men and ladies, what you think.
once you target a man and you provide the sexual opportunity and you're the...
So you notice he's saying once you target a man. Now, I'm only showing a clip here, but prior to him sharing this part of it, his interview, he was saying that women should target men. Well, I don't know if that they should target men, but I know that women do target men, especially men that they want to be with. So is it shocking to hear the word target? It can, be a little bit triggering, but to be honest, it's reality. That's what's happening, especially modern women. They target men, right? That's what's happening.
nasty, sluttiest version of yourself, then you have an in. Like you're within the city and you're not going to be kicked out anytime soon. You're not going to be pumped and dumped if you're an amazing, over-the-top sexual experience, okay?
I get that, but what about all the other things? But I guess he's talking about if you're just coming together just to have fun, because the novelty of the sexual, being the baddie in the bed, eventually will wear off to some degree. We've all been there in relationships, and then the sex is the thing that's prevalent and it's hot and it's new and exciting when you're married or you're in a long-term relationship, but that novelty tends to wear off after a little while. Not to say that you don't enjoy each other and you don't enjoy the beautiful blend of two people coming together and really experiencing each other in that way, but then it shifts to more long-lasting factors like love, respect, and commitment, and being there for each other through the good and the bad, through the thick and the thin, and then really developing a deep sense of trust with that individual, and really becoming that they're part of your life, like you're building a life together. So in this respect, it sounds to me like he's talking about relationships that are not long term. That's just my opinion. That's what I'm getting. I could be wrong here, but let's continue.
It's very, very important. And you don't want to do this with everybody, because that just is a race to the bottom too, because it becomes harder and harder to be the nastiest, sluttiest version of yourself if you're that with every single guy. That's why you have to do your homework, and you want to hunt, and you want to target specific men.
Wow. So you want to target and hunt specific men, and you should become the nastiest, sluttiest version of yourself. Well, Orion, I don't know. I don't know what to say about that, but let me know what you think about psychologist Orion's take on this and what he's proposing that women should do to be able to hunt and target a man that she desires to be with, and all the things that she should do to keep